What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ladies Who Bronché, the podcast where we have all of the conversations at the brunch table that people are too afraid to have at the dinner table. And this week, I am thrilled because for me, this is like one of the VIP superstar people in my orbit who, and I say this every time I work with her and intro her, when I was a young little tyke at LaGuardia High School and I was trying to figure out like what is my voice in this space. I knew I was a writer, but I was like, where are our people? Where are our audiences? I went uptown and saw a sketch show, and this wonderful, beautiful girl was on stage being funny as fuck. Like, get her on TV now. I just remember being so excited to see her and have had the real privilege to watch her career unfold, not only in the lane of her sketch comedy, but just her, even her business side, the ways in which she can command rooms and knows marketing and is truly like a wisdom holder in our creative community uptown. I just love her so much and I'm happy to share her with you. So, Rachel, tell us, who the fuck are you?
Girl, Julissa, that's really sweet. Thank you for those really kind words. And gosh, I love dialing back to the sketch comedy days where I really found some voices of mine, not just one voice, a few. Hi, I'm Rachel. Government is Rachel Ann Strauss, so Jewish. Mixed breed, Dominicana. My dad is as Brooklyn Jewish as they come. My mom is Dominican. I'm Dominican. Lots of matzah and merengue. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a comedian, writer, producer, podcasters unite.
Period.
Yeah. And like, I guess content creator, but I feel like that is such a generic phrase. I do some marketing, some freelance work for big brands where I actually create content for their social media pages, comedy based content. So like McDonald's and like AT&T, and oh, I just got another client that I'm going to be working with. I'm so excited. DoorDash, like let's go. Yes. And Reese's peanut butter cups is coming down the pike, which is my favorite candy. It's gonna be a problem on set because it's gonna be like how Rachel La Loca, producer, eats her Reese's peanut butter cup. You remember those commercials back in the day? I'm gonna eat all the props. But anyway, I'm gonna figure that out. But shout out to Being Latino who keeps hiring me as they're an agency that I work for. So like the marketing thing is still alive. You know, mama's gotta make bread. And I'm also, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Like I teach at the college level, which is like
Yes,
so
because period, because you have that level of wisdom to be teaching at
thank
the
you.
academic level. Please and thank you.
Thank you. I really, really love it. I just wrapped up the spring semester. Right now, I'm teaching advanced radio and podcasting at CUNY Brooklyn College, my alma mater, where I'm really deep in the trenches at BC, you know, doing alumni stuff and mentoring and all that jazz. And I gave a keynote at the commencement a few years back. So they keep welcoming me back. And I'm like, yo, the day I graduated from that spot, I was like, pa fuera! Like I threw my cap in the air. I was like, never again. And here I am, like now teaching. This is my second semester teaching advanced radio and podcasting. But prior to this, when I was deep in corporate, I was teaching multicultural marketing for 4 years, but under their business school. So now to be in their TV, radio, and emerging media school or, you know, area of concentration is so different. I'm like, me siento like I feel more at home than teaching a class that I myself did terrible in when I was a student, you know? Granted, they didn't really offer multicultural marketing back then, but like all the marketing courses, the business law, the macro, the micro, all the like consumer
Mhm.
behavior, I did terrible in those classes. I almost can't believe I was teaching the youth a subject matter that I really wasn't that good at myself when I was a student. But, you know, now I'm doing this creative thing and teaching this class is, if I may get into this, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
let's go into it. We're cheersing to Brooklyn College today. Let's do it.
Yes. I'm teaching a course, and you know, this as a podcaster, like this is an ever changing environment that we're in. It is evolving so fast. I mean, granted, it's been around for 20 years, but it's sort of just now getting popping, you know? And there's all these different subtopics that come into play now, morals and ethics. Like, there's no governing body, you know, there's no Nielsen ratings for podcasts. So, like, there's that whole thing, and advertising, it's still the wild, wild west. Like, we're not like radio where we have to stick to a 30 or a 60. Our ads, like sometimes we get paid for ads that are only supposed to run 60, but the script they give us is like 30 minutes long. And it's like, wow, you're paying for a 60-minute spot, but you have the host reading something for like 6 hours. You know what I mean? I'm exaggerating, but like, it's just a really interesting space to be in, and not many textbooks exist. So really the core of my class is like real shit, real guest speakers. You know this, real guest speakers, real case studies. I start off each class with something I call TWIP, this week in podcasting, where we just talk about the acquisitions, this ongoing argument of like, if your podcast has a video component, are you a podcast? Are you a vodcast? What are you? Are you just a YouTuber? Like, are you monetizing on both platforms? Like, there's all these questions. Spotify unveiled their Spotify for creatives and like creators, and people are making some good bread with Spotify for creators. There's just so many topics. As you can see, I'm nerding out right now. I don't even have time to get to it during the semester. There's so many things. And I'm like, we need another class. We need a morals and ethics in podcasting class. Like, it's time. There's just so many things that come into play. Interviewing, grown ass men are being exonerated from true crime podcasts. Like, this is
Right.
crazy. Like, what the power of podcasting, the power of the P. There's a lot of powers of P's in my life. You know what I'm saying? Ah, yo, pero like the power of the platform itself really it makes me geek out because there's so many things to explore. And yes, it's time that these colleges and universities offer a course like this. If you're going to equip these youth for the real world in a career of media studies, you must teach podcasting. This is a real thing now, and you know this too. Like, all of a sudden, podcasting is a pipeline to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Now shows are getting greenlit based off of podcasts. Like, yo, wake up, everybody! Wake up, provosts! Wake up, deans! You know what I'm saying? Wake up, the bursar! You got to offer these classes at the colleges and universities if you're really going to equip these students for a sound future. And you see what I did there? Sound future.
Period. Come on.
Okay.
No, and you know what? Honestly, though, like I think about, since I also am a Brooklyn College alum, for those who don't know,
Woo
and
woo!
I studied, my major was TV radio. And not only was podcasting not anywhere on the agenda, they were doing a lot of construction. So like there were certain classes I couldn't even take because the equipment rooms were under constructions. And so
Right hand. Yep.
yeah. So I graduated and felt like, damn, like I have this mark on my degree, but I don't feel really equipped. And podcasting like existed. It wasn't like the biggest thing in my orbit when I graduated 2013, but it existed. And as the years unfolded, I was like, damn, I have this degree, but this podcasting thing, like, how do I really, like, how does it correlate? I don't feel like many of the things that I learned in the typical radio class translate in this, to your point, wild, wild west, where like, this is the internet. This is like content creation. It felt like I needed to lean into my creator hat in a different way and not just the technical hat of what it is to produce a radio show for the podcast. So by the time Ladies Who Bronché came to life, in early 2017, it was like I kind of felt like I was winging it and really relying on watching the other fellow podcasters who were in the sphere to see, all right, well, how are we doing this? We have similar audiences. Like, what is the style? What is the flavor of what our audience wants? Because at that time, too, like, it was like NPR podcasts that were super popular. And then, like, eventually things like Two Dope Queens started to come into the fold. But even then, like, that was new. And so now that we have more years, and now that we have more information and understanding of the platforms that exist, to your point, Spotify creators didn't exist. Like a lot of the ways these things functioned, like I had to learn what an RSS feed was on my own. That wasn't part of what I learned in Brooklyn College. So like, I think that this is an incredibly important class for people to have. And it's one that I wish I had and maybe should still probably take.
Well, come on back. I'll be teaching at Brooklyn College again next spring, but this fall I'll be teaching out at Long Island at Five Towns College, which I'm super excited about. I'll be teaching a media operations and management course, so a little bit different, but all with under the guise of media and equipping these students and knowing what's going on. Like, what is media today in 2025? It's sure not what it was when I had media textbooks when I was a student at Brooklyn College in the 2000s, which I don't know if we've ever talked about this. So when you were a student, I was already teaching. I wonder if we just like, and I taught in Whitehead because, some of the business classes meet on the third and fourth floor.
Yes.
So I was there on Saturdays, though. You probably weren't there on Saturdays.
No, yeah, not because my commute was a 2-hour train ride. I was
Yeah,
committed to my college education
I
because I
love
took that,
that.
yeah, but the weekends, no.
I love that. Yeah, I was there on a Saturday. It was very hard teaching a business class on a Saturday. Let me tell you, there was one semester that I taught in the evening also, which is it's also hard because like Brooklyn College, like any CUNY school, it's a commuter school. Most of these people have jobs or husbands or wives or kids. So it's not like we're dorming and it's like, hey, you going to the frat party on Friday? I'll
Yeah.
meet you at the student union building before the party. Like we're gotta go home and pay rent and stuff like that. So it's hard to like have people focus, especially with these 3 credit courses. This last course that I taught, shoot, we met on Tuesdays from 2 to 6. So a 4 hour class. And I gotta say, I'm not even trying to like, pat myself on the back right now, but I'm going to because I kept these students engaged. Okay. They were so engaged, they wanted to go to Tiffany and buy me a ring, an engagement ring. Okay. I swear, maybe every now and then I would see a snoozer, but then I would like raise my voice or like talk about something interesting or give them a bathroom break. Be like, all right, it's time to break. Get your blood flowing because this class is only as good as the energy you give back to me. I'm not going to be up here lecturing. That's not what this is. It's not that kind of jam. This is where we talk. We're going to have dialogue about what is going on in the space. I'm going to report it to you, but you as a consumer of this media, I want to hear from you. I want to know, how do you listen to podcasts? At one point before the pandemic, we saw the bulk of our listenership through the commuters, through the people driving to and from work. But then the pandemic happened and nobody was going to the office anymore. So it was a big shift. Then we started seeing people consuming at home on their smart TVs using the apps. And now we're still playing this like seesaw battle of where are they listening to us? How are they listening to us? Are they listening to the whole episode? Is there more drop off these days? And now I think the number is like it's ridiculous. It's like 2 million registered podcasts on Apple right now. 2 million shows. So to your point from earlier, how do you find your voice? And that's what this class does help. They come with a concept on day one. I email all of them. I'm like, bring your podcast concept to class day one. Doesn't have to be fully fleshed out, but what kind of show do you want to create here? There was a Latina last semester that did a show about all about the paranormal activity out of Guatemala. How niche is that? Super niche. Hip hop shows, breaking down lyrics, poetry shows, self help, baseball. I am not really a sports girl, but I learned so much about storytelling through sports, which I'm like, I'm blown away. I really hope to evangelize this message and like bring this beautiful class to other campuses. Anyone out there in higher education, I am here. I am ready to work. I've got a textbook, I've got a packaged course ready to go. Syllabi, bye bye. Okay, just holler at me.
I want to say the message feels very spiritual. I feel like you took us to podcast church for a moment
Yes.
because it is true. And like, as a podcaster who's out here and like constantly trying to maneuver what's happening, coming back after a hiatus. There's like I came back and at first I was like, "Oh, this is going to be smooth because I've done this before. This isn't new." And I came back and I was like, "Well, here we are, new landscape. Guess I have a lot to learn." It's also this underbelly of, but with every episode that I record and even just that tidbit, like we're only a few minutes in and I'm like, "See, this is gold." Like there is a need to share that gold, that medicine out to the world because yes, there's like 2 million plus podcasts registered on Apple, but like it's a big world, right? And like every story that is supposed to reach the people it's supposed to reach will find its way. And I'm even thinking about that niche concept about the paranormal activity in Guatemala. There might be a random day where I come across a conversation or I'm having a group conversation and I'm like, I don't know anything about that. And then suddenly I'm Googling and boom, here's this whole library of information and context. And so I think that yes, every school needs to add podcasting, but also for those of you who are still sitting on the sidelines, even if you're not a student, right? Podcasting is a pathway to storytelling and preservation and archiving things. And so I encourage us all to like go out there, put your podcast up. I love doing this and I love your podcast. So shout out to Latinos Out Loud because it has like the growth and evolution of that podcast. Oh boy. And now it's literally carved its space out as one of the spaces that to me, if you are a Latina creator or something that is happening in our industry is moving and shaking, it's one of the trusted sources. It has now become a space where it's like, yeah, we know that this is the real deal. This is not something that came out of, let's say, like Univision or a big house that already existed and is like, oh yeah, here's a thing. It's like, no, this is homegrown and powerful enough that it has now hit that plain, and it brings me so much joy because why would I want my news from anyone else but you?
Julissa, thank you so much for saying that. For those out there also, here's yet another reason of, why to start a podcast or do podcasting because, I now have a voiceover acting career that I think came as a result of me refining this tool, that being my voice, on this podcast 434 episodes later, respecting air and space and listening and putting a voice in there, tapping into my comedy arsenal of characters and voices when appropriate. All of that really led to, and now I'm in season 4 production of the Tuttle twins as La Mama, Mrs. Tuttle, which, hey kids, everybody who listens to Tuttle twins out there, that's my Mrs. Tuttle voice. Hey. But like that too is now a career that I always wanted. Yo, I swear that I always wanted to be a voice actor. And then I remember Googling the classes and I'm like, whoa, I can't afford those classes. So I just studied the craft and then the podcasting stuff. And then coupled with sketch comedy, it all like, made this sancocho that primed me to be a voice actor now. And I'm thrilled to have worked on other award-winning podcasts, like Michelle Rojas Is Not Okay, that our friend Jamie co-wrote, shout out to him. That was on Broadway Video and Audible, and Spotify original called La Cabina Telefonica with Fanny Loon, Isabella Gomez, shout out to Studio 80, Lori, like these are our friends that are creating masterpieces, and then they're like, I'm going to pick from the friends and family that I know that can do this, and like, here, you got the role, you're cast. So podcasting can lead to so many different things: teaching, voiceover roles. I'm sure there's other things too. Like right now I'm working on a project which is so early in development, but I felt the need to sort of pay homage to my heritage and how I became this loca, this Dominican loca. So I interviewed my parents, and I have hours and hours of footage. And wow, the stories, Jesucristo. My mother, and I'm sure your parents and your family members, grew up during the times of Trujillo.
Yeah.
This is crazy that it wasn't that long ago. And she's telling me the stories, the things that she saw. Like, I'm like, wow, this is history. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with all this information just yet. It may be another podcast. It may be a book. It may just sit there for a while. I'm not sure. But to your point, it's documented. I got it. So even if you go out there and interview your elders, like, do it. Do it now. Because like these stories, they may morph into something bigger than you. Beautiful, and at the very least, you have your parents' voices, your family members' voices documented forever and ever and ever digitally. And then for Latinos Out Loud, thank you for those kudos. Let me tell you, talking about metamorphosis, I we started this podcast 8 years ago saying, oh, there was a void in the space. There's no Latino sketch comedians doing it on a podcast. So I was like, bet, fine. And we started doing segments and bits and like jokey joke stuff. And then we started interviewing our friends
Yeah.
like you and other friends. I'm like, shit, my friends are so talented. Like, oh my gosh, this is a never ending pool of guests to be interviewed to talk about the strides that they're making. And then I guess the news got out. Then the word got out that this is a platform for you to come and not only talk about your project and drive tune in or whatever, but tell everybody how you got here so that you can make the road easier for those that are following in your footsteps. Because we talk about Latinos Unidos, we need to tell each other advice. We need to tell each other these stories so that we can offer out our hands and be like, I'm going to help you so that your road is not so bumpy. These are
Yeah.
the bumps that I faced, and let's talk about it on Latinos Out Loud or on Ladies Who Bronché, wherever. But this is the space. This is the forum. So when I tell you how blessed I feel in that, like, because in the beginning it was hard to get guests. I'm like, can you do me a favor? Hey, Julissa, what are you doing next Friday? Are you,
Mhm.
and now I can't even keep up. I swear, I can't even keep up. My inbox is inundated from publicists and just people who are like, "Yo, I belong on your show. You all belong on the show. There is space." But guess what? We're only a weekly show. I can only record so many episodes per week.
Absolutely.
Okay, I know you have questions, so I could just keep on
No, no.
going.
I'm letting you rock because these are all gems. I just feel like there are people who know, like, and put the full respect on your name. And then there are those who just don't even know yet, like, who don't know just like the layers and wealth of knowledge that you hold. And they know you as funny, but like you're showing up in this and you're dropping so many gems. I'm like, yes, let her talk. Let her talk.
Thank
Let her
you.
show the people, right? Because none of this happens by accident. It happens with a combination of hard work, but also passion, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a true passion, and it is a passion of light. And I actually think that that's a great segue into our Tuta Loca section, where we kind of talk about things that ain't really vibing right, or we are curious about. And there has always been an interesting challenge for Latina creators to figure out, like, am I talking to my people, my bandera, or am I making this for everyone? And if I am making this for everyone, like, how do I carve out my space if I'm not from the typical country or group of people that are very easily identifiable? I know that back in the day when, Nori and all of them started to come into hip hop, and I started to hear the word Dominicana in songs, how exciting that was. Cause I was like, finally, people are saying the name of the country. And so we exist, right? And now we've moved so far past that. But there are still some struggles that people have. And I even think about a lot of, like, let's say Caribbean creators out in LA sometimes who are like, we're here and LA is the spot, but like LA is not necessarily Caribbean Latina dominant. And so how do we mix and meld and like unify under this idea of Latina media when in reality there are so many intersections that don't always complement each other, in a way that's straightforward. So I'm curious for you, like, one, what was something that made you feel most represented as a Latina growing up, but also how did Dominicanism show up for you in this landscape? And where were you able to see Dominicans thrive outside of whatever media you saw in your household that was like mainstream media, if at all?
That's a really tough question because I didn't really see myself growing
Yeah.
up. And imagínate as a mixed breed, I really didn't see myself. Like I was so confused for the longest, like, what am I? What is this? Like I'm somewhere in the middle of the daughter of a Dominican immigrant and then the daughter of a descendant of an Eastern European immigrant. And I'm in the United States. My father was a Spanish teacher, so we spoke Spanish in the household, but there was this complete dichotomy of life. And then there was also this intersection of like, well, I guess I belong somewhere in the middle. But there are days that I feel Dominican more than I do anything else. Then there are days, honey, that I feel like I'm a Jew straight out of Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. Yes, like I want to get a knish and a quarter pound of corned beef and latkes and derma and I want to drink one of those Dr. Brown sodas, the diet black cherry. It's my favorite. Although one time I spilled diet Dr. Brown soda on my table and it stained my table. So I was like, it must be staining my insides. So sorry, I can't do Dr. Brown soda. I gave up soda altogether, but that's just like an anecdotal story right there. But like seeing myself, diantre, there was no seeing myself. There was going to school, a predominantly white elementary school and middle school, and my mother blowing my hair out every single day to fit in, you know. I didn't know I had curly hair until I was able to wash it myself and it started doing some freaky thing in the shower. I'm like, why is my hair making S's? What's happening? Am I diseased? What is this? I thought I had straight hair, you know? So then it really wasn't until I left the neighborhood and I went to Midwood High School across the street from Brooklyn College.
Yes.
Okay. At the time, I thought I was going to be some kind of doctor. So I got accepted into the medical science, like the nerdy program. So a bunch of my friends and I went to Midwood. Shout out to the Hornets. And I started seeing a big diversity, like other Latinas. I'm like, oh, I wear big earrings too. Like, you want to hang out? So all of a sudden, I started like, falling into this like Latina clique. But at the same time, it was diverse. I was friends with everybody, like all the girls, all the guys. There was no, I'm only hanging out with Latinas, but like the Latinas were part of this diverse clique that we call ourselves ATS, across the street, because we would hang out across the street. Yo, you going to ATS later? Yeah, I'll be at ATS. We were the ATS crew. So anyway, so ATS would be the Latinas and the Asian Americans and the black girls and the white guys. And it was just like everybody. But I started to like hear Spanish. I started to go to Latin comedy shows. I remember we got a flyer on the campus of Brooklyn College when we were walking across the street. It was like Latino Comedy Showdown, Ay Caramba presents John Leguizamo's company, and it was sponsored by Johnny Walker. And I'm like, look at all these last names that end in EZ. Let's go. So we went, all of us, and I'm like, I started to see myself on the stages of New York City more so than televisions and film screens. And that's really where I got it piqued my interest in comedy. I'm like, maybe one day I can do this. But I'm gonna go to school, get my degree in business and whatever. And then I went to Brooklyn College and I decided to minor in Puerto Rican and Latino studies because I started taking the classes
My
and I'm
minor
like,
too. We got the
yeah,
same minor.
'cause right? It's my first class was with Professor Antonio Nadal, and it was Intro to Puerto Rican Music. And I'm like getting my business and marketing degree while I'm learning about bomba and plena and call and response and the music of the ancestors and how like music of today has its roots in all of this Taino music. I'm like, oh wow, my mind was like, so I was like, I'm gonna take another class. I didn't even know I had enough credits to declare a minor. So I'm like, bet, you know? But and shout out to all the professors at the Puerto Rican and Latino Studies department who I'm
Yes.
still close with today. Let me tell you something freaky and bugged out, girl. So you know, like you have to be observed every semester by like a senior, like another professor or the head of the department. Guess who observed me this semester? Irene Sosa. Did you ever take Professor Sosa?
Tanya has Sosa.
Yes.
Yeah.
And wait till I show you what this is crazy. I have a prop. So when Sosa observed me, she brought me my final paper that I submitted to her 25 years ago when I took her class. This is my first script that I ever wrote, and it's
Wow.
called True Colors: The Life and Times of Yesenia Goodman. So it was about like a Latina Jew, you know, and I have to like sit down and read this, but this was for Puerto Rican Latino Studies 37.1 with Professor Sosa. She gave me an A on my final. But the fact that she still kept this and she came to observe me and she's like, this is for you. She's like, just know that I only keep the good ones. And so, yeah, it was such a moment. This is very special to me. This is so crazy. So, shout out to Dr. Perez and Gonzalez, who's also a mentor of mine these days, and Alan Aja and Virginia Sanchez Carol. Did you ever have Dr. Sanchez Carol as a
I
professor?
didn't. I didn't have
Let me tell you something about Ginny Sanchez Carol, okay? She was doing a Zoom on Brooklyn College, and it was when West Side Story came out. And so it was a Zoom with Steven Spielberg. So, of course, I jumped on it, right? Steven Spielberg was talking to her like they were besties. He was like, Ginny, tell them about the time on set when you had to correct everybody's Spanish. And they were like, like, I'm like, oh my God, my professor is besties with freaking Steven Spielberg. She was hired to be a culture specialist and she was
mm.
on set during the production of West Side Story. So, like, talk about how one road leads to another. Like, I never thought my intro to cultural patterns professor would be on set with Steven Spielberg and becoming besties with him.
That and why else I love that is because it shows like because of the nuance of our intersections, especially something like West Side Story, because that's like one of the most studied, like, oh, Latina tropes, right? It's one of the most iconic things still, but like there was a lot of issues. So when it was brought back to life, to know that a trusted source was on set, to be like, yes, like this is representation as it should be, really does mean a lot in a landscape where, again, like even with each other, like there's nuances around each other's culture that we need to learn how to really integrate. Like I'm a Latina, I might not be the best cultural specialist if there is something that's going on that's about Peru, like just because I'm a Latina, right? So like there are ways in which the evolution of how people have grown their awareness to the degree that they're willing to reach out and say, hey, I am going to take this thing on, but I recognize there is nuance and I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly, is like super important. So I'm glad Steven. Thank you, Steven.
Yeah. And another friend of ours also worked on that production. Victor Cruz, who's a very talented
Mhm.
comedian, was also there and he held a role. He was the bodega owner. He opens the film, but he was also there to make sure that accents were on point. So he was like a linguistics coach on set. I did background for West Side Story. So I saw him at Steiner Studios when they chopped my hair off. I was in the America scene and they had to cut all of our hair because true to Steven Spielberg's craft is like he wanted the film to be 1961. 1961 as possible. So all the girls got bobs. And I see Victor, I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm a linguistics coach on the film, making sure that these Puerto Rican accents from New York are on point. Love that.
A lot of creatives, especially in this content creator field, feel a lot of challenge when they say like, all right, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to do this is going to be my big stardom, and when they don't immediately resonate with the Latinx culture that is native to LA, it becomes intimidating. I mean, there have been a lot of people who have come out, and I'm going to shout out the comedy scene in particular because, like, it's where I see a lot of movements. I think maybe was it even yesterday or 2 days ago, right? There was like another Morisoñando event
Yes.
that like came about, and so and they sold out, I believe, 150 tickets for this thing that is very culturally specific. But like years ago, that was a hard feat to really feel seen. So I'm curious, what are some of the challenges you may have seen over the years that different Latina creators have faced in trying to create a lane for their national pride under this massive umbrella?
Totally. And shout out to Sasha Mercy and
Yes.
Glorelis Mora, who's doing Mori Soñando. And Tommy 5K went out there. Ivan Manito went out there to perform. So I love seeing what we consider as like the New York Dominican style of comedy crossing the country and making its presence known over there. I want to touch on that. So for the longest, I felt like Latinos Out Loud was too Dominican, that
Mm.
we were alienating a whole market segment, that we were not going to be received well by Mexicanos or Peruanos or Colombianos. But then I started to see the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. The fact that LA and New York are neck and neck in audience numbers told me a lot, years ago. So that when I went out to LA a couple of trips ago, a couple of years ago, I'll never forget, we were shooting Bring the Funny, the show that Room 28 got on, the NBC comedy show. And I'm in the Uber with Jerry. Shout out to Jerry Diaz. We're on our way to a dispensary. And we're just like kicking it, talking in the back seat. And the driver was like, Rachel La Loca, Latinos Out Loud. I'm like, yes. I'm like, really? And he's like, I love your show, man. And I'm making him so much more like Mexicano than he really was. Okay. But it's for emphasis and comedy relief. So he was like, I love your show, Holmes. And like, okay, can we do a quick focus group? Like, tell me, is the show too Dominican in your eyes? And he was like, no way, man. He was like, your empanadas are our tacos. Like, it's the same shit, just different words, Like, it is the same shit when you really think about it. We celebrate, we listen to a lot of the same music. We all love salsa, bachata is now mainstream, okay? Merengue, hello. Like, I'll dance a cumbia right now if you want me to. You know what I'm saying? The food, we love food. Like, the pillars of Latinidad are universal. They are the same across the board. Food, family, music, love, friendship, signature dishes, holidays, all of it. Like, that's everybody, right? So for the longest, Julissa, I was like, nah, we gotta like make our content universal. But then after that focus group and talking to more people, seeing the success of like Mori Soñando, I'm like, you know what? F that. People are gonna come to the show because it's funny, because they're learning stuff. And if they're wise, it'd be regardless of ethnicity or where we're from or whether I'm Dominican or from Mars, Like, and Lin Manuel, he talk about dropping gems. Every time I interview this man, whether it's on a red carpet or on the podcast, I'm just like, I can't believe these words are coming out of your mouth. Like, how do you get to be such a good wordsmith, But
Mm.
he's been putting in the work. And he'll say things like, I just interviewed him for the Buena Vista Social Club opening night on Broadway. And I'm like, Lynn, like, what do you think of all these Latinos on Broadway? Like, Latinos are here. Like, we've got Real Women Have Curves and Buena Vista Social Club. He's working on The Warriors, In the Heights, Hamilton, all these shows. And he's like, well, he's like, I'll be happy when it's just that we have jobs on Broadway, not that we're Latinos who have jobs on Broadway. He's like, absolutely right. I don't want to be a Latina. I want to be a comedian who happens to be part Latina, you know? Come to me for my funny. Come to me because, yes, I make fun of the tropes of being Latina or being Jewish or being from New York or being a mom. A lot of my shit is like momedy. You know what I mean? So come to me for that. I think we need to maybe change the narrative a little bit. And like some of these media, the networks, like the big networks, they don't fucking get it, bro. why are they still only catering? Like, I get it, there's more Mexicans in this country than any other Latino, but like, that doesn't mean that we're also not here. That also doesn't mean that the Mexicanos will not consume stuff that's not classified as Mexicano. Like, give them a chance, give us a chance.
Yes.
Big media networks,
Yes.
even some of the small ones too. I'm like, I just went to an upfront the other day and it was like the same shit. It's like, we're going to do something for the Mexicans. We're going to do something, a little something for the Dominicans. Not much, just a little, just to
Mhm.
say we did it, because there's a thriving community. It's, it's growing, it's burgeoning. But I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Like, how about we get rid of these filters and just create content, like good content? To Lynn's point, how about you just give the jobs to Latinos to tell their stories and to dance our dances and to sing our songs without the filter or under the guise of being Latino? How about we're just good storytellers? How about we just have fun experiences? We come from a lot of struggle, and that makes for amazing stories.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's so much that you said there. One, I think it's interesting how in all of the intersections, right? Because we're talking about national pride, and then we know that there's the layers of like Afro Latinidad, people who are more indigenous in their Latinidad, and then white Tinos, and like that. There's all of these other intersections, and that sometimes because of the division, not even from a media standpoint, just from a social standpoint, like when Latino society is at odds about things, like even you see, I'm saying we're interchanging between Latine and Latino, right? And like there's people who like, I'm not even saying Latinx because gosh, we know that that's like
I'm
a
not a
technicality,
fan. Yeah, we
right?
don't
You know what I mean? Like
Latino, Latina, Latina, be positive, whatever you want to call us.
whatever you want to call it, right? And so I think that there is this level of like coexistence in society that in this political climate has been pretty rocked with the elections and the way people are feeling, because now the division is goes beyond like what pronoun do you want to use or what flag or where are you black and Latino, and it's now just become like, oh well, where do you stand under this umbrella? Like, are you a Trump supporter, are you not a Trump supporter? And it's like there's always this constant shifting. And I think rather than creators feeling like, oh, well, we need to figure out what's the safest space and just like hide in a little lane, I think that in reality, it's exactly to your point. Be authentic to what is true for you and the storytelling you want to tell, and allow for the audience to be drawn to that truth rather than trying to fabricate around something that is really made up by these large media companies who don't necessarily know what they're doing to the extent that they can honor nuance, which is really where I think you strike gold. When you think about some of the biggest things that have come about, it's people who have been very specific, very unique,
Yes.
and that flavor is what draws everybody. So suddenly it's no longer about, oh yeah, these are two black women on a mic or two whatever. It's like, no, like the topics are here. The way in which they are authentically expressing their experience calls to me, because even if I am not of that experience, that feels real. And it's like, yes, finally, somebody who's not trying to shove the same narrative down my throat over and over again and is willing to step out of those bounds and just spit some truth. Even with Ladies Who Bronché, like everybody's Lady Who Bronch, like people don't know how to say the name of this podcast ever, right? And so, and I'm okay with that, right? Because like, I think at first it started for me branding wise. I was like, yeah, I have to emphasize that me and Skittles, are Latino and da da da. And then like even bringing it back now, I sort of found myself being like, I need to update some of these descriptions, not because I don't want to honor that I'm a Latina, I'm a black Dominican woman, but like I'm here to spit gems and talk to people of all backgrounds. It's not just going to be Latinos. And when I started to realize that like what I was doing was trying to conform into a formula that was there, I realized, yeah, I don't want to conform. I want to expand. I want to create my own lane and see what happens. And I think that that has really brought a different joy in creating it. And so I think advice for Latina creators who are struggling with this audience segmentation is really do whatever makes you happy. Do whatever the fuck you I look at the da la gana. If there's one thing you learn about Bad Bunny, right? I look at the da la gana, because that is really what is going to allow for you to ground yourself in the truth of what you are creating. It is true that I'm a Latina, but it is also true that I am here to just give the gems and offer the knowledge and hold the space that I'm here to hold. And when my Latinidad is relevant, it's going to come up, and I don't need to brand it that way. It's going to be there because it is what it is.
Exactly. You said that so eloquently. We don't have to brand it. We don't have to shout from the rafters. We don't have to always be even listen, I'm going to be very honest with you. Latinos Out Loud branding is something that I go back and forth with almost on a daily basis because how often do I hear people like, "Oh, I'm not going to listen to your podcast. I don't speak Spanish." I'm like, "Oh god. No, you for okay, where do we start?" Like it's Latinos Out Loud. And so I'm Latina. I'm the one that's loud. You don't have to be Latina or loud to listen to the show. Okay. And then, like, the other thing is, like, Latinos Out Loud, we have a lot of allies. I've opened the floodgates to non Latino guests. But I still feel like they have to be allies and doing something profound or something great for that touches our community, you know? So, like, I've had some actors that we flock to the movie theaters to go see. We over index at the movie theaters, Latinos in this country. So yes, they are making content that we are consuming, so I find that little loophole. But girl, I ask myself all the time, do I change the name of the show?
Mm.
Am I putting myself in a box? Am I not including people? Are people feeling shunned away at the door? Like, no, everybody come in. There is sancocho for everybody. There's also gefilte fish. Like, come on in, okay? There's so much. There's a whole charcuterie board here of everything. The guayaba con queso on deck. Come through. You'll find something that you like. But yo, it's a conundrum in my head. I lose a little sleep over it. Like, now, fast forward 8 years. Are we still Latinos Out Loud? Is it Rachel Out Loud? Are we
Mm.
not out loud anymore? Is it something completely different? Have we said everything that we needed to say to be out loud? Are we just now, like, outside?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all very fair. I know that for me, like the intersections, and I think having Vamonos, like, and being like, okay, I'm now a Latina promoting a show that was bilingual, and I kept getting the New York Times and whatever. This is not me calling y'all out in a bad way because I do hope that to be reviewed from y'all at some point. But like we went through hell trying to get a reviewer because they were like, yeah, well, our review person doesn't speak Spanish and the person who is
Ugh,
booked. So like, and it was like,
ugh.
yeah, but I promise you, like, I have people like Amanda Seyfried and like Tommy from Power in my audience. I have some heavy hitters who don't speak Spanish who were up in that bitch crying and responding to a story because A, there was English in it, but there was a dominance of authenticity where the Spanish reigned and there weren't translations. And it was so sad to me to lose the opportunity to have that review because of a language barrier when storytelling or when people think about like Shakespeare English does not sound like regular English. And you can get very lost watching some
Yes.
Shakespeare, okay? And the same way that you might get lost watching a Dominican mother on stage yelling at her son, but the embodiment of the story is where the story is. It is not just in the words. And so, I think that the point is well taken where like we struggle because we don't want to isolate. We want to be open to everyone. But again, going back to your authenticity, you just have to be yourself. You just have to be in your lane. And like this podcast, I'm never changing the name Bronche, even if the focus isn't just to interview and speak to people who are Latino, because Bronche is my brunch. Like this is a conversation at a brunch table. That is the point of this podcast. And so Bronche is what I've always, because every time my mom's like, oh, where you going? Get the a Bronche. That's where I was going. I was going there. And so that to me is special in the embodiment of how I want to hold this space in this metaphoric brunch table. But it doesn't mean that nobody else is invited to this. And it doesn't mean that I need to be like, all right, well, if I want to touch more Latinos, then I have to talk about putting tajin or Valentina sauce on stuff. If that's not what's really on my plate, you know what I mean? Like, we could be here. And then, like, let somebody who is of that culture come to my table and bring those beautiful elements of their culture here. But I don't need to change my Bronx ass Dominican self to try to embrace a market in a way that isn't true to me.
And yeah, I'm so glad that you've stuck to this script. It feels good to be back on this show and now this like second iteration. Cause you're right. I'm here now and I feel like I don't have to be like Latina, 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 Latina. A bonita bandera. Like I don't have, this is just us kicking it as two American girls,
Period. Because
who
that
love to brunch.
'Cause that part, our media is American media, and I think that that is and I'll, like, wrap it with this statement. I think the biggest disservice that these major media outlets do when they segment us this way is that they also pull us further away from the American fabric that we actually are. We are part of the American fabric. We are the cultural leaders in the different fabrics, and yes, New York might feel more Dominican than LA and whatever, but we are all holding those grounds as an authentic space where we're at. So we are authentically New Yorkers or whatever the case is. Let us be that, but acknowledge that as part of the American fabric, not as this separate thing that needs to exist. Like, yes, we want to reach our audiences who are Latino across the world outside of the US, but this is their chance to have a look at what happens when generationally your culture grows and evolves in a different country. And they get to hold down and uplift what is true in the countries that represents the flags that we raise. It is not the same thing. We are in family, but it is not the same. And so the more that they segment us, the less they actually allow the power of immigrant influence in this country that has continued to build this country on top of what has been African American dominance and leadership and building in this country that created room for us to coexist in this country. Like, we need to allow for the fabric to include us. And so I say that both for Latinos and also for the Black community. Like, there is some respect that needs to be put, and it doesn't always need to be segmented in order for the people who it is for to come to it.
We got to rise above it and really know our place. Like, we know our place here in
Yeah.
this country.
Yeah.
We deserve to be here. We also deserve to shout out our Latinidad every now and then and let people know, like, our shit is John Blaze. Our food is good. Our colors are beautiful. Our history is deep, you know? And those stories, like, I'm going to do my part, whether it's through the interviewing of my parents or like something that I'm working on right now, a feature film. That's where that's going to come through. I feel like for me, and I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but I think you do this too, Julissa, is like the projects should have purpose. Every project of mine has purpose, and that purpose is clearly defined before it's in script format, before it's shot, before it's recorded. Like, I need to know that purpose so that that's like my trampoline, that's my project trampoline. Whenever I'm going to fall, I'm going to bounce right back off of that purpose. Oh, what was my purpose again? Ba-boom, doing, got it. Like, everything is going to bounce off of that purpose trampoline for each endeavor.
Before we move off of the podcast and into our plate of the day, really quick, get the brunch questions in. I just want to know, rapid fire, what is your favorite brunch plate? What is your favorite brunch drink? And what is your favorite bochinche topic to discuss over a meal?
Okay, I would love to go with the generic mimosa, but I haven't had a mimosa at brunch in like the longest. So like lately, I've been going full like margarita. You know what I'm saying? Like a marg, or if I'm gonna do a mimosa, like a Bellini, but less sweet because I'm trying to watch my sugar these days. Or gosh, I know I'm giving you four different answers.
No,
I
please.
also like a cold white wine, like with brunch these days, a Pinot Gris. You know what I'm saying? Little
Yeah,
Sauv Blanc, something. You know that. And then brunch dish, I love eggs, but yo, can I be honest on this podcast right now?
please.
I started breaking out like crazy, especially on my back with these really gross, like, can I be gross, like whiteheads. And it was so bad that I was ashamed to wear tank tops in the summer. And it kept happening. I was embarrassed. I'm like, what's going on with my skin and my fees? And then my boyfriend's mother was like, same thing happened to me. And I developed an allergy to eggs that weren't organic. And she's like, switch up your eggs. Cause, I would get whatever's on sale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
White egg, brown egg. I ain't no egg racist. You know what I'm saying? So, like, no exist. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go all organic and completely clear. Like, for some weird reason, at this juncture in my life, I developed an allergy to non organic eggs. So, all that to say is I had to give up eggs for brunch for a while because I know what was going on. And
Yeah.
I can't have eggs if they're not like cage free organic.
Wow.
But
So you're the
that's
girl at
like,
the table now who's like, are the are the cage free? food.
I am a waiter's worst nightmare because not only am I the girl asking if the eggs are organic, I also have a nut allergy. So I'm like, was anything made in any kind of nut oil or like cross contaminated with any kind of nuts? Are you sure? Can you make this salad but with no walnuts in it? Is that possible? Were the cranberries mixed with any kind of nut in the jar? Like, that's me. By the time I'm ordering, brunch is over. Like, okay, you've now elevated to the lunch menu and here's the dinner menu because by the time you finish ordering, it might be dinner as well.
Love that, Dito. But you know what? Get your egg game up, restaurants. Like, get your egg
Yeah.
game up.
So eggs are my go-to, like eggs Benedict or like, I don't know, like what's that spicy egg Mexicano dish? I can't think of it right now.
I have to say, I'm like, not
Huevos
here.
rancheros.
Oh,
Huevos
ranchero.
rancheros. Yeah. That or I am trying to watch my weight these days. Like if it's an early brunch, I'll even go full on like fruit and oatmeal. I love oatmeal. And I don't need like I could eat oatmeal any time of year. I'm
Yeah.
not just like a winter oatmeal girl. I will break out the farina or the cream of wheat or whatever it is in the hottest days of summer. I love avena, farina, anything ends with that ends in an NA that like you eat like a soup is like my jam.
I love that. I love that. I'm also a big oatmeal girl for sure. And I think that not enough brunch places have like good oatmeal. Like they just kind of throw it on there, and I'm like, no, give me like I'm at brunch. Like give me gourmet oatmeal. I'm here for it. I will buy it.
Give me the steel cut. Add some accoutrements, add some like bells and whistles, some dried cranberries, some honey, a
Yes.
drizzle, you know? Maybe some well, I can't do nuts. Offer the other people nuts. Maybe some granola.
Yeah.
I love granola. I'll eat a whole bag of granola because I also celebrate when I find a bag of granola that doesn't have nuts in it. I'm the girl in the supermarket, like, sorry, excuse me. Like, I'm in the aisle reading every bag of granola. And Target makes a really good organic vanilla granola. I will like eat it by the bag. It's such a good snack. It's so good.
Love that. I love that. So what about chincha are we talking about at the brunch table?
Oh gosh. All right, there's so much bochinche. There's like family bochinche. I will celebrate this now because I can. The bochinche was my sister was really sick for a while. She has something going on in her stomach. So the whole family was like, ay, es cáncer. Ay, la pobrecita Madeline tiene cáncer, el estómago. Everybody was talking because that's what the doctors were saying. But she had a piece of her stomach removed and she's cancer free, which is just like so great. More bochinche. I feel like my relationship is good bochinche, but like I feel like it's bochinche nonetheless.
Yeah.
Like for my family, they're like, "Ay, está enamorada Raquelita. Raquelita está enamorada." Like that's total gossip. Like when I put something of me and Eddie up on social media, I know it's the like talk of the town of my family. Like I know my tia's like, oye, Raquel subió foto de su novio besando. Ven acá. Ellos están enamorados. Se van a casar. Cuéntame. So that's like everything I'm hearing now from the family grapevine. But yeah, I guess the bochinche is like, I'm in love, girl. I'm in
Period.
love, girl. I'm in love. Oh my God, I'm in love.
Ugh, I love that. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about that love. Let's get into
Yes.
our plate of the day, divorcing the norms. I know growing up, I have a sister also who, during the pandemic, went through a divorce after being married for almost 10 years. And, divorce is a challenging landscape, especially in our community as Latinas, because a lot of people don't believe in divorce. They're like, no, you can't divorce. You can't get out of this situation. And so there are a lot of people who do stay in really toxic relationships because they have divorce shame. And then there are those of us, right? And you and my sister, I think, are really prime examples of women who are like, yeah, fuck out of here. I am getting my life and I am evolving into what is for me, right? And good riddance to what is no longer serving me.
Fuera.
And so I would love to hear, like, what were the signs or what made you aware that it was time to make this change?
I love this question. I'm about to get deep because I can't just answer it with one phrase. Like, and it's still being unpacked to use the therapy term. But I met this man when I was 17 years old. We were together for a really long time. Did I feel the shame of thinking about maybe I was headed towards a divorce? Yes. So I took that away in a maleta and I put it away somewhere. I was like, well, we'll go to therapy. We'll figure it out. We now have children together, so we have to figure it out. Nobody in my family is divorced. Like, it's crazy. I'd be the first one. And talk about bochinche, yeah.
Right.
But then the signs really started making themselves known, so many signs that I didn't have a healthy marriage, because the family would be like, "Dónde está?" Like, we started living like separate lives. It was so weird. And then the signs for me personally, here I am telling people, love yourself. I love you. How many times do I tell you I love you? I tell you, we tell each other every time, I love you. I love you. I text people, I love you. I love you. Like, I'm the I love you girl. You know what I mean? And here I am not loving myself very much. What a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Preaching all this word on love is beautiful. All you need is love. I got a sign up here that says all you need is love. The answer is love. And I'm like, breaks. I'm not even loving myself because I am succumbing to so much bullshit here. Okay. I'm becoming like, I don't want to say victim, but I'm welcoming this toxicity, almost being like, it's okay. This is marriage. This is what it is. How we watched Married with Children growing up. Peg and Al Bundy hated each other until they had the moment on the show where they showed everybody that they loved each other deep down. So I'm like, oh, this is marriage. So this is what it is. This is status quo. This is what it's going to be forever. But it was like a realization that kind of came, kind of like an epiphany. It was like, stop. Now I have two little humans on this earth, and I have to show them the distinction between love, loving yourself, being loved, how you're supposed to be loved, how you're supposed to love others, how you do unto others, how you reciprocate, all those things that are like, is my job as a mother, you know? So again, like, very, very much this moment of hypocrisy where I was like, oh, I need to preach what I teach. I need out. Chank, I need an exit. Like, and we talked about it, and we both knew, like, we both kind of knew, this is not working anymore. Maybe it did decades ago, but it's not working anymore. And girl, I love life, girl. I love life. We are blessed to be here. I am blessed to be breathing right now. I wake up every morning thanking the universe and thanking God for all of the wonderful gifts that this universe has bestowed upon me. I have two amazing children. I was told I would never have children. They are miracles. I have been in the presence of too many miraculous episodes for not to believe that I am blessed, okay, or that we receive blessings. And I'm just like, I want to live a long life. And I just had this moment of feeling like I wasn't going to if I would have stayed in that marriage. Women are, especially Latinas, Black and brown women, the number one killer is heart health. And I almost felt like my heart getting unhealthy, in the literal and spiritual, if you will, way. Like, my heart was broken, and then I'm like stressed, and my anxiety levels were super duper high, and I'm like here telling myself I'm hurting my heart in so many different ways, and I'm doing it myself because nobody else is doing it to me. Like, that was the other thing. I was like, a lot of these divorcees out there, like, he did this to me, he did that to me, and I'm like, oh, nigga, please, nah, and I'm just like, you kind of did it to yourself by allowing it to happen. You kept the doors open. I kept the conduits open. And I was, it was all coming towards me, but I could have put a halt to it at any point. So finally I did, you know? And shout out to your sister, who probably also woke up and was just like, whoa, 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 what am I doing to myself? I love myself. I love my sister. I want her to see me happy. I want my mom to see me happy. My parents are old. My parents started to see the misery. And what we talked about earlier offline is like, I'm still also coming to the realization that I might have been really, really depressed and like not even known it. And I feel so bad about that because it's an injustice to myself, and it might have been an injustice to my loved ones who are around me. I feel like I'm always like happy, like la la la. But there was a time where I had my vicios and I was not happy, but I just would like sweep that under the rug. So maybe that was also really unhealthy for my heart and my mental and those around me. So I'm collecting those pieces as we speak. But I just think that divorce is It's not the worst thing, honestly. Like, people paint it out to be so, oh my God, you're divorcing Ika Volts. Oy vey, holds me. It's really not like, it's a breakup, y'all. It's
Yeah.
a breakup. Maybe there's more paperwork
I was gonna say it's
involved.
a breakup with paperwork. That's
You
literally what I
know,
was gonna say.
it's a breakup. It's a breakup with paperwork. And like, listen, I have no ill will towards my ex. Like, he's the father of these amazing children. I need him to be present. I want him to be present. I want to make the best situation out of this that is possible. It's hard. There are days where I'm like, "Oh gosh, why isn't this not final yet?" Like, ugh, like lawyers, like can't be paying. I like every dollar I make goes to some kind of lawyer, real estate lawyer, entertainment lawyer, divorce lawyer, you know. Just it's like a lot right now, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to get through this. There's such happier times, even more happier times at the end of this tunnel. And I'm really glad that I filed for divorce. I am proud of myself. I am proud of the courage. I am proud of me saying happiness is coming first.
Mhm.
As hard as everything else is right now, money and living and having primary custody of these children, there are days where I want to pull my hair out. I see my hairline receding. I'm like, oh God, but maybe it's also because I wear it back like a freaking Latina every day. And like, I have to stop like brushing it so hard. But there's so many blessings in my life that are balancing it out right now. I found love. I can't believe I found love. I
Yeah.
wasn't even looking for it.
That makes me so happy, and I wanna get more into that love and how it came to you, but I also wanna affirm, first of all, your strength and power, and thank you for modeling that, and thank you for getting vulnerable in this space about that. I think sometimes women feel really trapped, and not even women, men too, like, people feel trapped in their relationships in a way because they might have children, there might be a lot of years there, and so they feel like they can't, but to your point and what you modeled, you try, you go to therapy, like you do the things that you try, but when the truth is revealing itself to you, you have to accept the truth for what it is. And before we, came on the mic, I pulled a medicine card for some animal guidance, and we got the hawk, and the hawk does talk about this idea of being observant and paying attention to the signs that are around you because they're trying to guide you to your next steps and the things that are of your highest good. And so sometimes people will be like, oh, I'm tired of praying, or I'm tired of being committed to like moving towards my better self because they don't think anything is changing. And sometimes, to your point, you might not be aware of a veil, whether that is depression or fear, even that is actually keeping you from seeing the opportunity that is before you. But know that the universe never stops knocking. It's gonna keep knocking until you make the shift, no matter how small, right? Like for somebody, it might not be as quick as the papers, but even the bravery to say, I'm gonna tell my partner something's wrong here, and we need to like call out this elephant in the room. All of those baby steps lead you towards what needs to happen next. So you might not know the future. You might not know all the details of like, oh well, how will I take care of myself in the family without him? I don't know how I'm going to do things without. But instead of trying to figure out the lack, try to think about the abundance that comes from a decision and trust that the abundance will be filled. That lack is it's not going to be lack forever. And so for you, right, I think of love as one of those areas, right? We're in the middle of divorce. I know a lot of people in my life have gotten divorced in the past 3 years. And I think one of the first things that everybody did was like, be like, all right, well, I have a freedom. I want to reconnect with myself and my body. Like, let me have a whole phase. You know what I mean? Or let me like do the opposite and go into this like deep monk celibacy. Like, and
Yeah.
people go through these things, but then there's always that moment where the superficial layers of relationships sort of fold down and you just want some joy and you just want some love around you. And it seems like that is the moment, once people are willing to admit that and put that out into the universe, that things happen. And so I'm curious for you, how did love reintroduce itself to you in this process?
Through the arts, through doing something that I love, through writing a short film, which is not the intent. I wrote the short film, The Swimmers, because I wanted to talk about infertility and in vitro fertilization in the Latino community, which is something that we don't really talk about, and the fears surrounding those things. So the short film got produced by the National Hispanic Media Coalition, the NHMC. I entered into a bunch of festivals. I got into the Dominican Film Festival, and I didn't even I wasn't even supposed to be in this block of films. I saw the rundown of the block, and the timing wasn't good for me, so I asked the executive director, like, "Hey, would you mind putting me in the other block of films that screens on Wednesday at the Second Street Regal Theater instead?" And he was like, "Sure, no problem." So got in that block, and I'll give the very abridged version of how love introduced itself, because, like I say, I didn't ask for it. I wasn't looking for it, but I did ask the universe. I made a request to the universe to grant me some kind of different kind of happiness. I've got my kids, I've got my parents, my family, my hobbies, the podcast. Great. But I needed something else. And maybe it was because there was depression at the core. And I just needed something to, like, lift me up again, to lift up my spirits. And I wasn't specific in my request because I didn't even know myself, like, what form was it going to take, like, is it a new bowling league that I'm going to be a part of? Like, is it a new waistline? Is a new hair color, or, some new veneers? I don't know, something, I didn't know it was going to take the form of a man. But here we were at the screening at the Dominican Film Festival in November of 2023. And the first film that was screened was called Shots. And it had this really, really good looking teacher in it, that just had a small part. But even inside of me, I was like, who's that teacher? I don't know if that's like the horny 40s talking, but I was like, who's that teacher? But I let it go because I'm there with my mother and my kids, I'm waiting for my film to screen. So we watch all the films. And then the last film screens, which was mine. Then the lights go up in the theater, and Henry and Armando of the Dominican Film Festival, like, will all the filmmakers come up for a Q&A? So I look to my right, and it's the teacher from the film. And I was like, oh my gosh, why are my armpits on fire right now? I put on deodorant, but it's not working at all. I'm going to have sweat stains. Shit. Like, I just felt this, like, butterfly feeling in my stomach. He's tall and good looking, and he smiled at me. He had all his teeth. I'm like, oh my God, you have all your teeth. That's always a plus these days. So we get to the front of the movie theater, and my homegirl, shout out to Christine, she was so proud of me. So she recorded the whole thing. And I constantly play this back because we were totally checking each other out during the Q&A. He would do one of those, like, like one of those things. And I'd be like, like a Beavis and Butthead moment, like, like that. And then, like, there's a moment where, like, I pass him the microphone because somebody asked him a question, and we just, like, locked eyes for a minute. And I have this really dorky, cheesy smile. I'm like, hey, bye. Okay. And then afterwards, we started talking, but on some, like, film stuff. But te lo juro por mi madre que something felt magical. So magical. And I shunned it away like a boba. I was like, no, 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 Rachel, you're a mom. You're about your career right now. No, ain't nobody got time for that. Nope, 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 nope. I shunned it away. And then we exchanged information, and the magic kept, like, snowballing. I'm like, he went to Brooklyn College. He graduated with a film degree at Brooklyn. What? Like, I thought he has all his hair and all his teeth. So I'm like, there's no way he's in his 40s. He's in his 40s. I'm like, all these, like, things, like, started clicking. We both said something at the same time. Like, we both make a lot of, like, sound effects. We both said something like meh. And I was like, did you just say meh? He's like, did you just say meh? I was like, I say meh all the time. I even text meh. Like, I'll often text MEH. And he's like, I say meh all the time. Like, okay, this is weird. And then, like, a lot of the similarities and stuff, like, he's Dominican. I'm Dominican. It goes on and on, like our hobbies, what we like to watch, the music. We're both into 80s music. I got in his car and 80s started blasting. He was like, oh shit, sorry, sorry. I'm like, no, 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 blast that shit. Like, and I ran so far away. I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, I listen to that stuff. It's like so weird. And I always tell him this, but he has become like mi medicina de amor. Like,
Come
he is.
on, song.
Yes, de amor, quiero de ti. He is my medicina de amor. I didn't even know I needed this kind of medicina, but now that I'm getting it in doses, I fiend for it. I'm like, I need more medicine, but, like, in a good way, because I finally found someone, again, not that I was looking, but I'm with someone where the compatibility is ridiculous. The laughter, the storytelling, the phone conversations. We have to cut each other off. He's a director. He'll yell cut. He'll be like, it's 3:30 in the morning. You have to take your kids at school at 7. You have to wake up at 6. Cut. Like he's like, we're in a vortex. We're getting into the vortex. And I'm like, it's because I want to tell you everything. And we just want to talk to each other. He's like the best real friend that I have, meaning we exchange Instagram reels all day, like the best Instagram reels come through. Like I'll stop everything, be like, oh, it's another pudgy penguin. Oh, that's like us. I love the pudgy penguins. And it feels so good with everything going on to have somebody that provides balance and who listens and who gives me good feedback and talks, and sometimes like he knows who I am. And that means the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with Rachel. Rachel suffers from anxiety, and sometimes weird things give me anxiety. The things that I can't anticipate or foresee, and that's like anything from like when I go to the supermarket, are they going to be sold out of the apple juice that I need? That may give me anxiety. You know what I'm saying? And he's there to like go through the ebbs and flows with me and know like they'll have another kind of apple juice, or like whatever it is that I need to hear at that moment is said by this man who doesn't judge me, who knows that I come with my flaws, and he has showcased his flaws to me too, and I see them. I'm not going to put them on blast, but I think they're cute.
Acceptance for who each other are is really, I think, like the vibration for any foundational healthy relationship, right? Like, can I exist as I am? And being able to exist as you are also allows for people to your point, support you through things, to show up for you in ways that are emotionally corrective. It sounds like you are having an experience that is really showing you the power of releasing what no longer serves you to make room for what you needed and you didn't even know you
I
needed
didn't
it.
even know it. Nope, I did not, cause I buy myself my own stuff. I am taking care of my kids. I'm a good mother. I'm a good daughter. I'm a good sister. I'm a good friend. That's the important stuff to me, you know what I mean? And I don't need in my head, I was like, I don't need no man. What should I look like? I don't need no man. Like I'm happy. I'm good. But it's not that he's just my man. He is my best friend. He is my confidant. He is my coach. He is my podcast producer at this point.
Yeah.
Like, he's so many things to me. He's this multifaceted creature that I am head over heels for, that I am so in love with, that I'm so thankful for. And he was this answer. He was this thing that I asked the universe for. How great. It's this like human. I didn't know it was gonna be a human.
You were ready to put on your bowling shoes, and God said, "Hold on."
Yeah, good. I mean, I like bowling. I love bowling. Maybe I needed to join a league, Like, I used to work out at the 92nd Street Y. My workout buddy is a 74-year-old British woman. Like, like I work out with all the viejas. Like, that made me happy. So I was like, okay, maybe it's something like that I need in my life right now.
Ugh,
But here we are. You never know.
you never know. And so I think like you never know is a word, definitely a word of encouragement for people who are probably in the middle of any relationship transition, whether that is a divorce or just a breakup or trying to find your way back to love after already having gone through one of those things. And so what advice or encouragement do you have for folks who may be in that position, who are like, I don't think love can find me again?
Okay, it's simple actually, and I am only saying this because I went through it. So please trust me, people. I have just a little bit of experience in this, and it's recent, so I don't have all the answers. But my answer to your question is to keep your heart open. I
Mhm.
closed it off. I closed off the ventricles. I closed off the veins, the arteries. I closed off everything because I'm like, I'm good. And then the minute I opened it up, I was in a vulnerable stage. The short film was screening. I cry every time I see this short film because it's something that I went through. I met this man at the most, like I was wiping tears as I walked up to the Q&A because my film was last to screen. It had just screened. So my eyes were puffy because I'm seeing myself on screen, and there was an actress playing me, but I'm seeing my story on screen, and it's hard to watch because it's so real. It happened to me. I lost a bunch of pregnancies. IVF didn't work. I felt like this infertile and broken woman in my community. But my heart was open. It was probably as open as it was in a long time. And then this deluge of love, and not just from Eddie, this deluge of support and love came flowing through my veins and arteries, into my ventricles, into the atrium. I was just like, my heart is pumping oxygenated blood again, you know? And that's when the gifts just come, they come. They come and they come and they come and they come, and you're like, it's because I allowed them to come into my life. I was open. It sounds so generic and simple, but it is.
Is the truth. It is at the root. And I know, like, especially as somebody who's constantly talking about like self-love and opening yourself up to the possibilities. I know some people are like, oh my God, like, and they roll their eyes at it. But the reality is that there is a commitment of faith to these things that you might find corny, right? It's not that it's corny, is that if you want the popcorn to pop, you got to put some heat onto it. And that heat is that faith. Right? If you want things to pop, you can't just be like, oh, well, this is corn. You want popcorn, baby? Put the heat of that faith behind all of your intentions and actions and watch shit pop off. It will happen in some way, shape, or form. And so I think that your story is such a testament to that. And I'm so grateful that you were willing to open up and share that, because I do think that people need that in all stages, at all ages of your life. Like, you might be good on your own. You may have proven to be able to navigate things without a partner, but we are, just like we are meant to be in community as humans, we are meant to be in some level of relationship and partnership. Not every relationship looks the same, not every partnership looks the same. Some people have multiple partners in one relationship, and that is what works for them. But the truth is that if you have the desire, you don't need to deny it to yourself to prove that you're strong. Like, proving it and denying it is not, if it is really what you want and that is your truest, happiest place, then like, amen. Because there's so many people who are so happy being single, and I would never wish a boyfriend or girlfriend upon them, because I don't want to break that. But there are some of us who are just afraid and hurt. And like you said, we just need to open our hearts to the possibilities.
Exactly. And it goes beyond relationships too. Like, I'm here on the grind, in this show business life. It's like, gosh, so many things that I'm trying to do and be successful at. And, I think I need to work on being more open in that realm as well,
Hmm.
because I want so much more. Gosh, I want so much more, and I can do so much more. But like funding and having people say yes to you instead of no, and you know, it's hard. It's really hard. I have all these great concepts and I'm ready to go. But like, I gotta work, I gotta make money, I got mouths to feed, I mean, I'm shopping at the thought shop these days, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, it's affordable and whatever. But like, gosh, gone are the days of buying myself nice stuff. Like, I just can't do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
a
can't
tough.
even brunch that much right now.
Who you telling? I'm out here. I'm here like, you know what? These are virtual brunches, but like, if the podcast basis was me taking every guest out to, I wouldn't, I can't do it. I can't do it. I haven't been to brunch in so long myself, and it is literally one of my favorite things to do ever, because I like to eat, but I also like to just chop it up with people. And so it's
Yes.
tough. It's tough out here for creators, y'all. If y'all hearing this, like, send us some love, and if that love is financial, we're open to it. But even if it's
Let's
not
go.
financial, like, supporting the work really does.
Yes, it does. Well, thank you for having me here. We really spoke about a lot. I love doing this, especially when I'm in the presence of someone who is helping me with some self reflection right now. Like, I talk to myself, but like, not like this. I need someone. I'm really thankful for you, Julissa, who's like, you know me. So I think it's easier, but like, you're bringing things to surface that I needed to bring to surface that I don't really talk about on my daily. I'm in this grind. I got to go get the kids now. I'm on the hamster wheel. So this conversation is allowing me to even love myself a little bit more today than I did yesterday, and like congratulate myself for the things that I have accomplished. I'm feeling really good. I'm going to try to squeeze in a gym session before I have to go get the kids right now. I have good energy right now, even though I'm on 2 hours of sleep. I just feel like I could get on that treadmill and burn a few calories. And I'm really thankful to you. Also, you show me that it's like, can't stop, won't stop. You brought this back. The hiatus wasn't even really felt, like, because your episodes are still out there, like
Yeah.
they're there. That's the like lovely thing about podcasts, is like, they're there. The catalog is always there. I love, can we talk about you for a sec? Like, you are so creative. You are so eloquent when you speak. I've told you this before. When you spoke at Poderistas and you blessed everybody with that beautiful, amazing poem, y'all check it out on YouTube. Look for the Poderistas Health and Wellness event that took place. Julissa opened it up with a beautiful poem that moved everybody in the room and completely set the tone for that event. So that's on YouTube and on the Poderistas Instagram at Poderistas. But you are also so inspiring to watch. I saw Vamonos at the theater. I was such a proud friend, and like you set a nice little trend that we're seeing in theater here in New York right now. Okay. These Dominican playwrights that are coming up, they are following in your footsteps. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that you can also pat yourself on the back and ink that pen a little harder today because you're also doing big things again.
Rachel, I needed that. And thank you so much, truly, for seeing me and for being not just a professor at Brooklyn College. You've been schooling us for years. Like I said, I saw you early on, and everything you've done since then has been an inspiration and a model for like, fuck whatever the standards are. We are here with our authenticity and our laughter and joy, and that's all we need. So thank you. Thank you so much. Share with us, where can we follow you and continue to support your work?
Yes, people, you can follow me at Rachel La Loca. That's Rachel La Loca on all the socials. Please also support the Hilarious Show, which is my all-female comedy show that pops up every now and then. That's also something that I'm hoping to cultivate and work and get out to the masses one day at the Hilarious Show. And then, of course, the podcast at We Are Latinos Out Loud. We have a website, wearelatinosOutloud.co. Somebody from China bought it, took it from me, and it's all in Mandarin. So if you can like read Mandarin, knock yourself out. But go to wearelatinosOutloud.co. And yeah, that's really all that I have for now. I'm in development for a couple of projects right now that are just not baked enough to like whip out and make an offering of cookies, but there'll be some cookies coming soon. A really exciting podcast that I'm in development for, which is like, it taps into my nerdiness for trivia and my love of being in love. I'll leave it at that. But that's something else that I'm working on. And also this feature film, like, gosh, it's a lot of work, but I'm thankful that I have people in my orbit, especially Eddie, who's a filmmaker, an award winning filmmaker who is pushing me. He's like, you got to write this feature. The short did good. Now it's on to the feature. The world needs to see it. The world is ready to see something like this taboo topic that only you can tell the story of because it's infused with comedy and people will like it. So I'm working on that little by little, but we'll see where it goes. My heart is open. My brain is open. I am willing and ready to accept. I want my children to be so proud of their mom. I want them to know that, like, mommy put in the work. This didn't come easy to her. So we're going to have to do the same thing in our respective fields. But the work has to be put in. The stripes have to be earned. There may be a fast track to get to where you want to go, but I guarantee you'll be more proud of yourself if you take the right track, the slower track, the earn your stripes track.
All these gems. Rachel, thank you so, so, so much. And I
Thanks.
look forward to eating those cookies when they're out because I can smell them. I don't even know. I can smell it. I love it. I love it. You all
And
can
I made them with organic eggs.
or period. Okay. These are free organic cookies,
No
honey.
more breakouts on my back. It's so great.
Okay. With all the power of the pea infused into them. I love it.
Ah,
Absolutely. You can find us at Ladies Who Bronché across platforms, and you can follow me at Julissa. Thank you all so much for tuning into this very special episode. And until next time, bronche.